You're very welcome to the Aviva Stadium and to the beginning of Pensions Awareness Week. My name is Dan Malone, and today we're going to be discussing everything you need to know about starting a pension in Ireland. Joining me on the panel today to discuss this topic are Claire Louise Murphy from Aviva and Aaron O'Toole from MoneyCube.ie. You're both very welcome.
Thanks, Tom.
Claire, I want to kick things off with yourself for the first question, and it's a very fitting question for the beginning of Pensions Awareness Week. In the most simplest of terms, what is a pension?
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, a pension is a long-term saving plan for yourself for the income that you want to live off in retirement. So that's what you're saving for, the income that you want to live off in your retirement.
I think that's a very clear and concise definition, because I know when people Google what is a pension, they're met with lots of terminology and complex jargon that they might not understand. So it's great to just get that definition right off the rip. Aaron, I might go to yourself here. Why should anyone start a pension in the first place?
Yeah, look, I think the first thing is obviously a lot of people are scared, even with the word. It overwhelms them as such. So I think it's even just starting is the most important thing. So, I mean, if you just look at the state pension, for example, it's €253.30 a week. It's just over €1,000 a month. So it's designed really just to cover the basics. So whether that's food, groceries, any bills as such. So anything after that, when you retire, it's up to you to save for, really.
I think there's a common conception in society that pensions are just something for older people. Is there such a thing as being too young for a pension, or is it for anyone or of any age, or is there any sort of predefined limit to when you can get started?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I suppose it's geared towards older people in the sense that obviously, please God, we're all going to live longer and we're all going to have to draw down a pension at some stage. So, I mean, we're all going to get to that age where we're going to have to draw down a pension. So, in regards to starting early, it's obviously best to start early. Excuse me, you have longer to save. And again, build up that pension pot so you can enjoy your retirement when you get to that relevant age.
Okay. And you mentioned the state pension there. So would you mind just clarifying for the audience, what is the difference between the state pension and the kind of private pensions that we're actually talking about here today?
Yeah, so state pension is based around the amount of PRSI contributions that you make. So everyone can be entitled to it, depending on their level of PRSI contributions throughout their working life. So private pensions or personal pension, whatever it might be, is up to yourself to save for. So it's really up to you to kick that into gear going forward.
Okay, that's great. And you're saying that for the majority of people, the state pension, it might not be enough to sustain themselves, and that's why pensions are important.
Exactly. Yeah, as I said, it's really geared just towards the cover basics, the basic necessities in life. So, I mean, we're all going to work hopefully for a long and illustrious career. So it's being able to enjoy retirement. That's up to us to save for, really.
Okay, I think Aaron put that nicely there, being able to enjoy your retirement. So he's kind of sold us on the why you should start a pension. Claire, I might go back to yourself here. How would someone go about putting money into their pension? And we might touch on both from the perspective of someone who's employed and the perspective of someone who's self-employed, perhaps.
Yeah, of course. So if you're in employment, your employer might run what's called a group pension. So you can join that. It's usually after kind of 6 months probationary period that you can go into the scheme. Your employer may contribute to it. There's different levels. You will contribute to it as well. Sometimes they're matching, or as I said, your employer might contribute more and you match then at a certain level as well. Now, before you go into the pension scheme, or if your employer doesn't actually have a pension scheme that's running, you can join what's called a PRSA. So that's a policy that's personal to yourself. So a different fund range, but the retirement benefits are the same. There's tax relief on the contributions. So that's if you're in employment, you have those two options. And if you're self-employed, most recently a lot of self-employed were going into what's called an executive pension product. Unfortunately, that has been taken off the market for the moment due to new legislation. But you can still, the PRSA is available to the self-employed. There's tax relief, so you can claim that as a self-employed person. You can still contribute up to the maximum levels. Which are the same. There's a very good fund choice, probably not as much as there would have been in the executive pensions, but you can still retire in the same way. So there's the 4 different options: a pension for life, you can go down what's called an ARF, which is continuing on in a pension product. You can maybe take a taxable lump sum, or you can take your tax-free cash from your PRSA and continue actually in that investment as well. So there's lots of options for both the employed and self-employed out there.
And for someone who's in employment, perhaps watching this, and they're not sure what their position is with regards to their pension, and they perhaps want to get started and start making contributions, is it just a case of having a conversation with their employer? Do they have to contact payroll, HR? What's the general way that people can get started putting money into their pension?
Yeah, so usually it would be that as part of their contract when they're starting, the pension would be mentioned in there. But if not, absolutely, starting point is contacting your HR department. They will be able to tell you all about it. Your pension contributions are deducted as part of your salary. So if that's not already happening, again, you can contact the HR department and they will set it up and they will speak to the payroll in the company. It's not that you have to do all that work yourself. So I'd say starting point, if you're unsure, either have a look at your contract or contact your HR. But if you are in a company for a few years and you're actually in a pension scheme, you should be getting an annual benefit statement once a year. So if you have that, you're in a pension scheme.
Okay, and then from the perspective of the self-employed individual, I would assume that they have to put the money in themselves and then perhaps file a tax return or something at the end of the year to kind of figure things out.
Yeah, so they should get in touch with, everybody should get in touch with a financial advisor, especially, the self-employed, or if you're going to pension yourself. So that would be the starting point for the self-employed, to contact a financial advisor so they can talk them through the different PRSAs, the different offerings from the different companies as well, because the fund range might vary from company to company. So they will put in touch with them and sort it out how that they pay their contributions. And yes, their end of year tax return as a self-employed person is where they will look after the tax for that. But they'll get their tax relief as well.
Claire, I might just stick with you for this next question as well. So we've done a bit of talking around just pensions generally and why you should start it and how you go about putting money in it. But again, to a lot of people watching, it's still quite ambiguous what's actually going on with a pension. So I know, especially during 2020 and 2021, a lot of people would have been familiar with, investing in things like GameStop stock and a lot of hype investments that people were making in cryptocurrencies. What is the difference between investing in a pension and investing in the likes of stocks and cryptocurrencies?
Sure. Well, what I would just say, first of all, about the crypto and the stocks is more so crypto. Not a lot of pensions would be driven like that. The pension products are approved by the central bank and they're more focused on investing in funds that over the long term will, perform differently, but to get a return that will purchase your income for retirement. The cryptocurrencies, as you said, they are very much a recent thing. They are about the stocks in the different companies or the virtual money. We're still not 100% sure of them. They're not around long enough for us to be able to kind of judge. Usually funds have a performance over many, many years that we can judge. They've already had very highs and very lows recently. We'll just have to watch and see how they go. But in general, I would say that pension products wouldn't necessarily be driven towards crypto because they'd probably be seen as a higher risk.
Okay.
Than maybe the other pension funds, there's different risk levels in the different funds, but that's geared towards where you are in your retirement journey. The closer you're getting, the less risk you want. So, it is possible that you could invest in a pension product if it allows you to invest in stocks and cryptocurrencies. I don't think there's that many of them around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the most part, the world of pensions and pension investing is at the moment very much separate to the world of cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Aaron, again, I might just go to you for this next one as well, and this is going to be a very important question on the minds of a lot of the viewers. How do you go about figuring out how much you should actually put into your pension?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that's probably what stops a lot of people digging in and going for it straight away. So, the first thing is what you can afford. There's no point in saving for this great retirement if you're struggling on a day-to-day basis. If you can't get by in today, but that's the main thing. I suppose it's the conversations we have to have with your financial advisor. They can obviously take a look at your overall picture, see what you can afford. But that'll be the main thing, what you can afford to put away. Obviously, starting younger, the earlier you start, the longer you have to be invested, so you can get away with putting not as much in. Where, for example, it's a 30-year-old as opposed to a 50-year-old starting off a pension. A 50-year-old have to put in 3 times as much to get to the same retirement pot when they're drawing down the money. The other thing to note, obviously, is that there, as Claire touched on as well, the different levels of tax relief that you can get relief on based on your salary and stuff like that. So they're the 2 main points in regards to how much you can put in. But again, I'd always come back to not leaving yourself short. Because again, there's no point in saving for this great retirement if you're struggling on a day-to-day basis.
There's two things I want to kind of expand on there, if that's all right. So first of all, you mentioned this concept of affordability and being able to,
Sure.
afford what you can actually put into your pension.
Yeah.
Is that something you've been seeing at MoneyCube, like especially with the inflation and the cost of living crisis? Are people struggling to actually put money into their pension? Is this becoming a thing that's actually a problem?
I mean, for me personally, it's always a case of once you start it, I think what puts a lot of people off is making that first contribution.
Okay.
Once you see that first contribution go out, that's it. You can budget for it going forward. It's a matter of building it into your overall financial plan, really. So again, not leaving yourself short. So, like always come back to that. Not leaving yourself short. But there's always a case as well. You can mix and match around with your contributions as well. So if it is a case that you're going through a rough period or for whatever reason costs are high, there's always that ability to pare back your contributions as well for a period of time.
Okay, that's great to know, because I think people will be worried that they're signing themselves up to something that they can't get out of, but there is flexibility with how much they can actually contribute.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to touch on then is just, you mentioned about tax benefits, right? So we always hear this idea of pensions are great for reducing tax. Could you explain again in simple terms, what is the actual tax benefits of investing in a pension?
Yeah, I mean, the government really wants you to save for your retirement. And the way they do that is really a three-pronged approach. So again, you're getting tax relief on the contributions you put in. So say, for example, a higher rate taxpayer, for every €100 that's going into your pension, you're actually only putting in €60. The government's putting in €40. You're getting tax relief for that €40. The other point is tax-free growth. So again, your money's invested. It is time to compound and grow over a long period of time. There's no tax on that growth. And then again, when you get to retirement, within certain limits, you can draw down a tax-free lump sum as well. So again, it's a three-pronged approach, but the benefits are huge. As I said, the government really wants you to save for your retirement.
And we just talked about there with Claire about investing in stocks and cryptocurrencies. So what you're saying is that by investing in a pension, this is effectively tax relief that average investors couldn't get if they were to put money into the likes of stocks and crypto. This is a separate thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even starting off, regardless of how the stocks or the shares that you're invested in perform or the funds that you're invested in perform, you're already up based on the tax relief that the government is helping you contribute to your pension. So,
okay.
Big point to note.
And is there any limit to how much someone can put in, or is it?
So again, there's age-related limits based on your age. So for example, between the ages of 30 and 39, you can put in 20%, up to 20% of your salary and claim tax relief on it. Now, obviously, there is limits. It's up to a salary of 115 grand, but a lot of people would fall below that, so they could be well within their limits.
Okay, very good. And Claire, I might just go back to you again, because I know earlier you mentioned this concept of employer matching. We kind of didn't really expand on it.
Yeah.
Could you just explain a bit more about what employer matching is? Because I know this can be very, very valuable for people investing in pensions.
Absolutely, of course. And I suppose what to remember is, like, if you are in employment and you're in an occupational pension scheme, your employer is saving for your future as well, so that income. So what I mean by matching contributions is, for example, if you were to pay 5% of your salary in your contributing to your pension, your employer might match that 5%. Or there's different tiers, like, for example, you could pay in 4%, they might pay in 8%. So that's what I mean about matching contributions, or them paying a contribution and you paying a contribution. So not only are you saving, you're getting your tax relief, the employer is saving for you as well, and that's all going towards your income. And in addition to that, then you're going to have the state pension as well.
So it's effectively free money that people are getting by choosing to invest in a pension.
Absolutely, and I think even what Aaron was saying, there's probably a bit of a misconception that pensions aren't affordable, or it's definitely, it's something that you should be not saving for, but something that people only think that they should think about in the future. But that might be too late to start thinking about. You need to start thinking about it now. And, as you were saying, they're more affordable. The tax relief there, I think people just have this misconception that if they're trying to save for a mortgage or paying rent, or you have all of those other daily bills, that you can't actually afford your pension.
Yeah.
But it's probably more affordable than you think. And as I said, the government are giving you something for nothing, which they rarely do with the tax relief. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And just the last point on that as well, and I know Pensions Awareness Week has a session about the employee value proposition, so we won't stick on this for too much, but I know this, the whole great resignation, people, leaving jobs for other things they want to do. But do you think, generally speaking, younger people and people of any age should be looking really closely at what kind of pension benefits that their employer are offering? Is that becoming more of a thing nowadays?
Of course, and again, I suppose it depends at what age you're kind of going into employment, and maybe for people that are in their 20s and 30s, their focus isn't on their pension because again, it's probably their salary, or if they're saving for houses or whatever it is that they're saving for, and not necessarily their pension. But I can't underestimate how important that is as an employment package.
Okay.
Because again, your employer's saving for you for your future, so why not? It's definitely something that I would look at if I was going to another job. It's super important.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. So Claire, let's say someone has decided to put money into their pension, there's money going in on a recurring basis. When that money actually leaves their paycheck and goes to the pension account, can they control where that money gets invested or what kind of funds it goes into, or is all of that done on their behalf?
It can be both. So, they can choose themselves, the funds that they want to go into, obviously speaking to their employer or their financial advisor, depending on different kind of pension that you want to go into. An individual pension or PRSA, you would have more control over the funds because it's individual to you, you're picking the funds. In the employment or the occupational pension scheme, your employer might choose a investment strategy for the entire scheme with the trustees. But again, that's a choice. You employee yourselves, you can fill out your own application form, which might have a different fund choice. In addition to that, though, what is called a default investment lifestyling strategy. Bit of a mouthful there, but what that means in basic terms is if you don't want to choose your own pension funds, which again a lot of people don't because they might not know that enough about them, they will go into the default investment strategy, and over time, over what's called a glide path, you will start out in the riskier funds the further away you are from retirement, and as you move towards your retirement age, you will on a monthly basis come out slowly towards the less riskier funds so that you have a secure pension pot when you retire. So there's definitely choice. It probably depends on whether it's an individual pension or an occupational, but there's definitely choice and flexibility for control.
I suppose it's very much that idea of the curse of choice as well, right? Because if you're someone who doesn't know anything about the pensions landscape and you're suddenly asked to pick a personal retirement savings account or PRSA product, you might not know where to start. So what kind of factors should be considered when looking for a PRSA? I know people talk a lot about fees and charges. That's been in the news quite a bit. Maybe talk us through, like, our pension PRSA products, are they quite expensive? What to look out for, things like that? Yeah,
so the PRSA product in particular, again, that will have a default investment strategy option if you don't want to choose your funds, or then you can self-select your own funds. The fund choice for a PRSA mightn't have as an extensive fund range as other pension products. There is capping on charges with the PRSA, so it's 1% on the fund value or 5% your contributions per annum. As I said, the retirement benefits and how you can take them is exactly the same as well. But the fund choice, so again, you should look at how long you have to retirement and probably your attitude to risk. Again, people that don't know that much about funds would probably automatically go to low risk, medium risk. They just, there's a fear about it. But the longer you are out from your retirement date, the more time you have to invest in riskier funds, because there's going to be highs and lows, as there is with every single fund. It kind of happens in 6-year cycles. So if you're 20 or 25 years out from retirement, you have that time to go through the highs and lows. If you're closer to retirement, yes, you probably want the less riskier funds, and that's okay because you're securing that pot to purchase your income. So I would say attitude to risk, definitely, and how long you have left to retirement are probably the two main factors to be looking at.
Yeah, and there is a lot to consider, and I suppose that's why it's good to have the likes of a financial advisor by your side that you can talk to about all this stuff.
Absolutely.
So, Aaron, we've talked a lot about starting a pension, what it is, why you should do it, how you can get started, things like that. What in your mind, and Claire, I might ask this question to you as well, what in your mind is the first step someone can take after they've watched this session to actually get started? What do you think is the first thing they should do?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing is taking ownership of it, really. If you're after watching this, you're obviously interested in pensions, or obviously have a feeling that you kind of want to get set up yourself. So first thing I would say is to make a promise to yourself, whether that's get in touch with a financial advisor, have a look into it yourself. Certainly get the ball rolling, again, because there's no better time than now to kick off a pension scheme going forward, or a personal pension plan. For people like employees, as Claire kind of touched on, there's the possibility or the opportunity to maybe dig into your HR department to ask for a bit of information, see what's on offer. Again, if there's any matching that they can avail of. And then for personal pensions, stuff like that, again, always best to discuss with your financial advisor. So obviously it's coming up to what we in the business call pension season. Again, a lot of people try to capitalise on tax relief and stuff for year-end tax. So yeah, a lot of people try to kick it off this time of year. So again, always discuss with your financial advisor.
Okay, and Claire, same question to yourself?
Yeah, and the exact same with what Aaron has said. But what I would also say is that, you know, over the years, all of the different companies that are pension providers have tried to remove the jargon from the information on their websites. They're a lot more clear, a lot easier to understand. So while you're, you know, having a look in to see whether you're part of an occupational pension, dig out your annual benefit statement, have a look online. You know, all of the pension product providers are really clear. You know, they all have the guides to the different pension products. Do your own bit of revision. You know, yeah, there's lots online that is a lot less complex than it has been over the years. So definitely have a look around. Yeah.
Aaron, Claire, thank you very much for joining us here today. It's been a very informative session on starting a pension in Ireland.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all very much for watching, and make sure to check out the other sessions that will be happening throughout the week on the Pensions Awareness Week website. Thanks.